Hey, I reckon it's time you built your profile. Yeah, you, the motivated business owner. I want to see you and your business get some earned media coverage. You keen? Excellent. Then let me show you how.
Well, I said, welcome to a small business marketing show where successful small business owners share their souls to take your marketing straight to the lead. Now, here's your host, Mr. Timbo Reid.
Welcome back, listeners, to another episode of Australia's #1 marketing show. I'm your host, Timbo Reid. You, right there. Yeah, you, walking the dog. You're a motivated business owner, ready to crank out some great marketing, ready to build that little baby business of yours into the empire it deserves to be. And that's exactly what we do around here. If you are new to the show, big hug, team hug. Come on, bring it in, guys, bring it in. If you are not new to the show, join the hug anyway, because I love the fact that you are back for more marketing gold. And big show. A very big show today, joined by Media Manoeuvres' Sam Elam, who is a seasoned pro at helping business owners like you get media coverage. Yeah, all sorts of media coverage. And she is going to take you through a very, very simple 5-step process. It's a ripper. Hey, I share one of my forum members' big successes they've had this week. I love sharing the wins. We all should do that. And I've got a motivational quote about putting things off that will put a smile on your dial. I think you're going to love it. Hang around for that one. Hey, now this show is made possible by the very good folk at Key Person of Influence, the world's leading business accelerator program. They are for you if and only you want to be an industry thought leader, and you can grab a free hard copy of their Amazon bestseller over at keypersonofinfluence.com/Timbo. It's a ripper. Speaking of free books, because I like giving away free things on this show, this episode's also sponsored by Audible, and you can grab one for free of 180,000 audio book titles they have ready for immediate download. Just head over to audibletrial.com/SBBM. I'm reading Slash's biography at the moment, lead guitarist of Guns N' Roses. Yes. Hey, listen, as per usual, there's marketing gold. Yeah, GOLD, dripping from the ceiling over here at Small Business Big Marketing's HQ. So let's get stuck right in.
Do you need a speaker for your next conference? Recommend Timbo to your event organiser. Or better still, book him. Tim Reid, that's reid.com.au.
Now, if you are a long-time listener of the show, you know I love sharing the wins. All of us, you and I included, need to celebrate the wins in our business, no matter how big or how small they are, because they keep us going. You know, if we're not going to share the wins, who is? So I've got this wonderful forum member, long-time listener and fellow podcaster, Nick May. Nick's a painter. Yeah. In his signature, he says, painter by trade, entrepreneur at heart. He paints houses, not pictures. You with me there? And his business is Walls by Design. But he's also got a podcast. And he left a note inside the Small Business Big Marketing Forum this week. Have a listen. There are some lessons in here for all of us, team. So he says, it's not a huge win, but a win nonetheless. Exactly. I was reaching out to an interior designer this week to get an interview, and I got an answer from her assistant and from the interior designer. I usually only get the assistant on the front side. Yeah. Hard to get past those Dobermans, but it is possible. In fact, I wrote a blog post recently over at smallbusinessbigmarketing.com all about how to get past the Dobermans. Nick goes on to say, but the fun part was when the designer recognised me as being in the top 5 interior design podcasts named by the industry magazine, the industry magazine, Interior Design Mag. Actually, I was listed as number 3, but was really the only one doing a strictly interior design podcast show. The others were more about product design or architecture. Lesson there, team, is that niche your content marketing down, niche your helpful marketing down, and sometimes you can own the space, you know. Don't think the boat's left the shore. There's still plenty of room for whatever marketing you want to do. Too many people think, oh, it's too late now, someone else is doing it. Not true. Nick goes on to say, so that got me thinking, who else likes my show? So I searched best interior design podcasts. He Googled himself. I like that. Got to Google yourself every now and then. And found 2 blog posts talking about the show and me. And they loved it. So I thought I might be onto something. Nick, you are onto something. By the way, listeners, Nick's show's not that old. It's like 6, it might be 12 months old. I reckon it's less. Then I checked out iTunes, and how's this? We were number 1. Hey? Fantastic. And that doesn't hurt, as I'm going after a second and largest sponsor for my show. Put a big smile on my dial today, just had to share. And if you want to listen to Nick's show, it's called The Chase Lounge Podcast, and it's a ripper. Don't you love it? Hey? So many surprises, so many wins in that. I think we need to pop the cork. Oh, there it goes. Love it. Hey, listeners, you want to surround yourself with motivated business owners? Join the forum. Smallbusinessbigmarketing.com is where you'll find it, or head over to crankmymarketing.com. Hey, 30-day guarantee. And you can just share your wins, ask marketing questions, you know, and I'll give you your money back if you don't like it within 30 days. No questions asked. I might ask, why are you leaving? But nah, you'll love it. The support for this show comes from Key Person of Influence, a structured business accelerator program that's, well, not for everyone. Founder Glenn Carlson explains who KPI is ideal for.
Anyone that's built a business based around a skill, a talent, or an expertise where a lot of their revenue is reliant on them delivering that skill, talent, and expertise, we show them how to change gears from being the operator with a supporting business built around them to being an entrepreneur where the business is in fact operating and providing that value so they can take that step back and start to run the business instead of the business being designed to run them. We love working with a small business owner that's sitting on a mountain of value right now that they don't even recognise.
KPI, taking you from being a business doer to a business owner. Grab a free hard copy of their Amazon bestseller over at keypersonofinfluence.com/Timbo. Righto team, let's get stuck into today's guest. It is Sam Elam. She co-owns MediaManoeuvres.com.au, and she is laser focused on getting her clients like you, business owners, front page coverage, radio interviews, appearances on TV programs, features in influential blogs or podcasts. Podcasts. She is a ripper and she nails the process of helping you do that. So listen in, and she will share her 5-step process, and it's beautifully simple. We talk about the changing media landscape and how it's benefiting businesses like yours. She's got some golden tips along the way. We even do a little role play for one of my forum members who deserves some media coverage based on a win he's had recently. Not Nick. Not about his podcast. No, this is another forum member. Lots of wins. Hey, I started off by asking Sam if she had any PR horror stories.
Well, you know what, Timbo? Every PR person, every publicist has a horror stories. Horror story, or horror stories actually, but I'll give you a couple just to
wet the whistle?
Yeah, warm us up a little bit. So the first one was very early on in my career, and I had a festival. It was like health and wellbeing exhibition, actually. It was a big one that was coming up, so we were doing the publicity for that.
Lots of chia seeds and kind of yoga poses?
Well, it wasn't all of that. It was sort of mainstream. It was sort of out there and everything in between. But It was a pretty big event, actually, and a lot of people went to it. So I thought, great, why don't we work out and get a whole lot of masseurs and masseuses, and let's take them to the main railway station in the capital city
Yeah.
And let's give everybody a morning massage at peak hour so
Yeah.
they get a little bit of a rub on their shoulders,
Yeah.
and we'll tell them all about the exhibition and all of that. So we did that. We had great masseurs. We had television cameras there. We had everybody. We'd been talking to all of them, talking it up. Our only problem was nobody would come near us. We didn't
Right.
get to massage one person because they're like,
Don't touch me.
don't touch me, don't touch me. It was horrible. And the client was there and I just wanted to sink into the floor.
Oh, no. So that's a massage story without a happy ending, Sam.
No happy ending there. No, definitely not. It was in public as well.
Right.
But can
Next.
I tell you a great one?
Yeah.
That could have been a horror story.
Yeah.
Okay, this was for Heinz and it was all around, their baked beans and mayonnaise and baby food and whatever. And we decided we were going to do a big event on the bicentennial of Australia, which was, a while ago, 200 years. So we put together a hot air balloon race over Melbourne. Perfect pictures for television. We put journalists and celebrities we had 5 balloons. It was the main event of the day for the celebrations. They all went up. It was fantastic. And in between that, we decided with one of the great journalists that we were going to stage a little crash just to make it. It was a channel, a TV channel, and we were going to stage a little crash. So that was all good. We got that happening and we had racing car drivers in the balloons. It was all beautiful.
Like a managed crash.
It was a managed crash. However, what happened was when we did the managed crash, she actually cut her head open. So there was blood everywhere. But that was great because it was top of the headline news on that night. And then another balloon actually went off course and landed on a race course, Flemington, which of course is the home of the famous Melbourne Cup.
Yeah.
So it was beautiful. We had front page, everything.
Mate.
So it was beautiful.
Don't you love it when they cut their head open?
Beautiful. And now she's my best friend.
Oh, there you go. That is a story with a happy ending. So my question to you, Sammy, was any publicity horror stories? And I want to get semantic on you for a minute.
Sure.
Can you clarify for all us business owners, what's the difference between PR, public relations, publicity, and even advertising? Because I think a lot of us get it all mixed up.
Great question. And I really educate my clients in that because they're very, very different. Public relations, for a start, is, if you like, public relations is the strategy and publicity is one of the tactics. Public relations is much, much broader than publicity. So public relations might end up being event management or sponsorships or some social responsibility, government relations.
It is what it says. It's relations with the public.
Exactly, your publics, who you want to communicate. Publicity, on the other hand, is unpaid media coverage. So it's all about getting media coverage, whether that's online, offline, bloggers, whatever. It's what we
Podcasters.
call podcasters. It's called earned media, and you don't actually pay for that media as you do if you are advertising. So you don't have control over the earned, but you know, when you're a good publicist, you can get great stories out there. With advertising, you have total control and you pay for it.
You pay for it. You lease the space. Love it. So PR is the strategy. It's relationships with your publics, and publicity is a tactic within PR, which is about getting coverage in earned media. Is that
You
right?
are absolutely
Oh, I love it. Hey?
on the money. You are
On the money. Righto. I want to talk. So today, you and I are going to talk about publicity, right?
We are.
Is publicity for every type of business? Is it an appropriate strategy?
Absolutely. I believe.
You being biased here, Sam?
No, I'm a very honest person, Tim. I'm very honest. And publicity is such an enormous opportunity. A lot of people say to me, oh, come on, traditional media is dying, and how can you say that? But
Including me.
Including you, yes. It's actually the opposite. We have got so much media now, whether it's online, social,
Yes.
podcasts. It's a bit like what...
So traditional media, just to clarify, interesting discussion, is traditional media dying, and is it being overrun by the podcasters and the bloggers and all that other stuff? You know, like I I saw Jamie, my daughter watches a lot of YouTubers, young 17, 18, 20-year-old YouTubers with millions of followers, and all of a sudden Jamie Oliver appears as a guest on that YouTube channel, right? He's clearly seeing a shift from getting coverage on the BBC, for example, which would have massive numbers still. Like, I get the big media's still got the big numbers, but here are these YouTubers. Barack Obama was on a podcast 6 weeks ago, you know?
Exactly. But it's like any good marketing campaign, which of course you're the expert in, it's about integrated activities. So that's all media. I mean, podcasts are media, YouTube's media. The whole publicity side of things has changed and expanded, which is incredible. So traditional television, radio, all of that, there's a place for that. There's now a place for YouTube, LinkedIn, Facebook, whatever. So it's the difference between controlling your own media now and earning it. So you want to do both. That's what I mean. It's the land of opportunity all over again.
It's amazing,
I mean, that's what's so exciting.
It is. And, you know, like, I think what I want my listeners to get from our chat, Sam, is every single one of them, give them the ability to go out and get some coverage in the media for free. Right? Cool. And whether that be a spot on the Today Show, a spot on the Small Business Big Marketing Show, an article in the, the Financial Review or whatever it is. That's my wish. So that's kind of where we're going, guys.
Sure.
So as someone who's responsible for doing that, Sam, how much has your focus moved away from the mass media and focusing more on the niche media?
Well, once upon a time, you only went for the traditional media because obviously the other stuff wasn't there. So now, as I say, it's integrated. We do all. I mean, everybody still wants traditional media because it's broad. But whether that's relevant strategically for what you need to get in terms of media, that's the question we always ask our clients and we discuss with them. But it's not about readjusting focus. It's other platforms, other media. I mean, I can't wait for the day where we stop talking about traditional media versus online. It's all media, and that's
it's not either or.
No, it's not, and it still is at the moment, but it won't be soon.
Yeah. So what's that about? I mean, I get that, and I'll be guilty of, like, seeing myself as the non-traditional media, but I feel that's changing as my audience numbers grow, as podcasting grows, as YouTube channels proliferate. It's exciting times, but I do get the fact that I don't know what the tipping point is. Do you? Like, when is that number going to shift from get me on the Today Show? No, don't get me on the Today Show, get me on a podcast type discussion.
Who knows? That's I think Rupert Murdoch would like to know the answer to that.
Yeah. He'd be shitting himself.
Yeah, well, he's going into it as well. You can't imagine someone like Rupert Murdoch who's not transitioning, and that's the whole point. The traditional media is transitioning, so I don't know when we'll stop calling it traditional.
Okay, well, right now, hey?
Yeah, let's right now.
Right
now. I do want to talk about, well, it's the same for all media, but traditional media is still really big because it's not just about getting on the media. So everybody wants to get on television. Of course, that's the hardest media to get onto and not necessarily the most relevant for all businesses anyway. But it's about what you do with your media as well, your traditional media, because then you can use it and scale it and leverage it through everything else you're doing. So, I don't care what anybody says. People still think if you get on BBC or ABC or Channel 9 or whatever, you still have massive, awesome credibility to your customers.
Yeah, no, totally agree with that. Totally agree. And I can't see that changing anytime soon. But I do love the idea of it, the integrated approach where I still don't think or know, based on my show and speaking to other podcasters, not enough brands or businesses, big and small, are integrating. They're still all shooting for the stars as opposed to going, you know what, let's try and get an article in the newspaper or a segment on the radio, but let's also hit up 10 or 20 podcasters and bloggers that share the ears and eyes of our audience and get some coverage on them as well.
And I think that's exactly right. But, we've got people like any cycle in marketing. or a product, or particularly of a product, we're always going to have early adopters, and I think we're in that stage with podcasting. But we all know it's going to go crazy. And just the other day, I heard about Apple putting some sort of connection. You probably know more about this than me. They've done deals with one of the major car manufacturers.
Yeah. They're putting, so you're going to be able to access. Well, you already can. Like as of 2014, there's an app called Stitcher, which is appearing on the dash of many new cars, which means you can access podcasts from your dashboard, from your car.
And that's going to be that will bring it into mainstream.
Bring that on.
You could almost argue that it then becomes traditional media. What is traditional media anymore after a while?
Sam, this actual interview is going to be the tipping point of the word traditional disappearing in the word media. So no longer can we use it. I'm
loving that.
Loving that.
We'll be famous for that.
They'll reference us. We'll be a footnote in Media Marketing Journal.
I think we'll get lots of backlinks as well, don't you?
Oh, I love a backlink. You got me a backlink in the Huffington Post recently. I was quite excited by that.
I was very excited too. The thing is, as a publicist, we're like voyeurs. We get incredibly excited when we see our clients get good things like that. So
Okay. Well, let's talk about that. So I want you to share with us. I want to do two things. I want you to share with us how we go about getting coverage for our businesses in the relevant media. Maybe like 5 tips or tricks as to what we can do. And then once we get it, how do we work that baby over?
I am loving you for asking me that question, because a lot of people think this is really easy and they go off and they don't spend time to work out how to do all this stuff, and they blow it in a second with guys like you, with bloggers, with traditional media. We're not with TV, radio, with everybody. They blow it completely. So when you have to actually pitch, that's the important word, you need to do it properly. And there's a whole process before that. So I'm happy to give you, let's think about 5 things. So
righto.
The first thing is you absolutely have to know which media is relevant for you. Everybody says all publicity is good publicity. Sometimes that's true, depending if you've got a really broad impact. But that's not always true. So know where your customers are, know why you're doing media. And TV, radio might be relevant to you if you're a plumber, for example, because that's very broad and everybody watches that and whatever. But women's magazines might be more relevant, or women's sections, or women's online, or, mumpreneurs and whatever, because we all know, Tim, that women hold the purse strings in the house mostly. Yeah. Sorry, not to be sexist.
No, you're pretty right there, Sam.
Yeah.
Research group of 1.
Yeah, exactly. 2.
2. Yeah, that's right. So get clear. Number 1, get absolutely clear on which media is relevant to your business. And you're not just saying there TV or podcasting or blogging or newspaper, but actually what magazine, what station, what show on a radio station. Yeah, is that kind of, you're drilling down that far?
What section? What freelancer?
Section?
What blogger?
What journo?
What journo? Exactly.
That might be step 2. It's like, okay, I've decided that, what am I going to say here? Like talkback radio shows are the go. Now I need to identify who within that world that would be interested in my pitch. Is that right?
Exactly. Right. So that is number 2, that you need to research. Know the media, know the person you're talking to. So if it's radio, know which producer, find the producer. And for goodness sake, and people don't do this, listen to that program for a week. Yeah. So you know absolutely what they talk about, what the program rundown is, because there's always a formula. And if anything drives journalists more crazy, and you'll lose your reputation in a second, is pitching the wrong thing to the wrong person and see you later.
I get so many emails, Sam, from people who would like to appear as a guest on this show, and often they don't use my name. And I go, well, really? Have you really listened to my show? Secondly, they go, oh, I love your show. And then they quickly get into why they should be a guest. And my gut feeling is they haven't listened to the show.
Yeah. Nothing turns a media person off more than that. Number 1.
Righto. Love it. So we've so far identified the right media, the right program or newspaper or magazine or podcast or whatever it is. Then we've listened to it for a week and identified the right people to contact. That sounds hard to me. I get for those two of those three I get. The idea of, like, who do I contact? The host? You mentioned this person called a producer. Like, how do I figure out who is the person to contact?
Forget about presenters. They have really not much to do with what goes into a program or a section. So producers are the ones that make the decision on radio. Journos in print or online print, you can go directly to them, and that's the great thing because they're quite accessible. They're quite hard to get telephone numbers for, but they're quite accessible on Twitter, for example.
Yeah.
But do not pitch on social media. Do not do it. Mm-hmm. What you do is engage, and you show them, as with any good content, that you are a person that they're going to want at some stage. You engage with them. Don't pitch. They'll throw you out the door again.
So what's an engage? What do you mean?
So if they've written a story and it's relevant to your business, your product, your service, first of all, follow them on Twitter, for example, or wherever, Facebook. And if they've written a story that's relevant to you, tell them what a great story and tell them something about your experience.
Yep. Get to know them.
As in not a sales experience, not a pitch, something that happened to you or that you agree with or that's happened in the industry or whatever.
Mm-hmm. Okay, just as you would, like that's a virtual kind of contact, but as you wouldn't walk up to a journo or a producer and immediately launch into, you need me, boy, do you need me. It'd be like you'd have a chat.
Absolutely, it's a conversation. And then at some stage, they're going to say, I need that guy or I need that girl.
Yep, love it.
So that's just social. That my point is, don't pitch on social. There's lots of different ways that you actually do pitch.
Mm-hmm. Okay, next.
So the next one is you've got to find the right angle. So that's part of your research as well. So you need to make sure that what you're going to pitch is relevant to the type of media you're targeting, and it's actually got an interesting angle. So, there's lots of different angles. So when you said to me...
What's an example of an angle?
Well, you can have an extraordinary one. Like one of the ones we had was there were in an older people's home, aged care, there were 5 100 birthdays in 1 year in that home. That's extraordinary.
Yeah, that is.
And that's a great story. Now, look, that could go to...
Which means there's some beds going to become available at some point in time.
Oh, no, they've found the fountain of youth. They're never leaving.
Yeah.
So, that's extraordinary. Another extraordinary one was cows can put, in the regions where there's no broadband, you can put tags on cows' ears and they can use that as a cell.
Oh, I love it.
That's an April Fool's joke. Sorry, Tim.
Oh, you're funny. Who was that for?
That was in a local regional paper. I laughed my head off.
Oh, yes. Well,
what a great idea.
Sam, we're going to edit that part of this interview out because you've just made me look like a fool.
Tim, you could never look like a fool.
I love it. Okay, so that's interesting in itself, the April Fool's joke. Why not? That gets you coverage. Might get you into trouble too, but...
There's lots of things. One thing, just on the angles, what I would suggest for people who are starting out is that they go to their local community newspaper, which, again, is online. If you live somewhere... sort of use that as your testing ground for all of this. Don't go to national media or, a very influential blogger. Try your local because that is one of the easier ways to get a story if you've got a story.
Yeah, and the thing I find with that, and I've seen this with members inside the Small Business Big Marketing Forum, where we've got a lady who owns a horse riding ranch out in the bush. She's had some local coverage, but then journos from metro media organisations, even overseas media organisations, access the online versions of those local papers and find stories. I even find guests who appear on this show often find themselves with a full page in a major metro daily, or they're on the on the Today Show. So there's journos listening to this show for ideas.
Yeah, and that's the point, because lots of those community or local papers are now owned by the bigger boys. So there's journos looking for stories all over the place.
Love it. So finding an angle, step 3, finding an angle. It's like the question is, what is newsworthy about my business that someone would be interested in reporting on? Is that kind of...
Well, yes, newsworthy is one. There's whole lots of things. You know, we've talked about extraordinary. If you've got, you know, celebrities at an event, but if another one which people don't use, and it's a gimme, or two actually.
Love a gimme.
Research and trends. The media loves that. So even if it's not your study or research, whatever, use Google, find something and go on the back of that.
Yep.
That's a Monty.
Really?
The other Monty is, again, piggybacking, is find something that's in the news and piggyback onto that. For example, a client of ours has just opened a youth employment academy, which is legendary. Of him to do it, all his own money. All he wants to do is help solve youth unemployment. But youth unemployment is a big story at the moment, probably everywhere around the world. So he was able to get enormous coverage. We got all the opening of his youth academy. We got all the mainstream media, television cameras everywhere, not because his academy was so amazing, but because he was solving a topical and controversial and political problem at the moment.
Gotcha. I'm going to do a role play with you in a minute, but before I do that, great steps so far. Find the media, find the person, find an angle.
Yep.
Any other tips about getting great publicity?
So 4 and 5, I'll go through them pretty quickly. 4 is the big one. That's about pitching. So get your pitch together. And the secrets to pitching is make it short, make it brief, because if you're going to pitch in verbally, you're either going to be doing it to someone's message machine or you're going to be doing it to them. So you've probably got about, if you're doing it personally, you've probably got about 15 seconds before they turn off.
Yep.
So you need all the best information up top. If you're pitching via email, your subject line is the most important. You need a headline in your subject line because journos get 200, 300, 400 emails a day with stories. They don't get to read them all, but if you catch their eye on the subject
line is everything. And I've shared this tip before, but simple things like go to the newsagent and have a look at the big magazines, Men's Health, Cosmo, Vogue, those little headlines on the front cover.
Yep.
They're there to get you to buy the magazine, just as your subject line in your email's there to get someone to open the email. So that's a ripper.
And if you go into news in Google, you've got headlines galore.
Headlines galore. Love that tip. News in Google. And just on pitching, Sammy, because this show has a couple of wonderful resources. About 3 or 4 episodes ago, I interviewed a fellow, Oren Claff, who has written the book Pitch Anything, and he took us through the pitching process. And if you didn't like that, listeners, then just get the Key Person of Influence book over at keypersonofinfluence.com/Timbo or .au. One of the two, Sammy. There's a whole chapter on pitching and they've got a wonderful process, but it is such an important part.
Pitching is the essence of life in business.
There you go. It's very deep.
Now, I coined that phrase, so don't you use it, Timbo?
I'm just writing it down now. I'm going to be tweeting it. Hang on. Yeah, got it. Out. Tweet. Yeah.
Excellent.
Love it. At Timbo Reid. Kate, number 5.
Okay, can I have a backlink?
yeah, whatever.
Number 5, and this is really important, and people think they do it and they're like, oh, yeah, sure, Sam. Get the names right. Get the spelling right of the person you're going to. Use their name, like you said, and make sure you've got the right story for the right journo. You know, there is nothing worse than having misspelt names. I mean, that's delete button. That's all it is. It's like, forget it. It's delete button. It's hang up. It's you're never going to get a story. You idiot. Get it right.
Right.
People still get it wrong.
Yeah, I think that's the bigger thing there is be respectful of the people you're approaching, of their time, getting their name right, their business name right, all that type of, that's kind of like, that's obvious stuff. But don't write a tome. Don't write 1,000 words. I think there's always that, like, we feel like the more we write, the more important it will look and sound and feel. But I think that's so wrong. I mean, my ADD, all of a sudden, I implode at 100 words anyway, Sam. So,
well, if you think most journos have probably got ADD.
Yeah.
So
who hasn't?
Yeah, exactly, and type A. So
yeah,
to the point, dot points. It'll get you there all the time.
Yeah, love it. Love it. This is very unfair, but I'm going to see if we can do a role play, like 2 minutes, because this is a real example of, and it's actually someone who I've recommended give you a call. But a forum member of mine, only this morning, Sammy, he owns a cable locating business. You know, like.
What?
Yeah. I know. Cable locating. You know, like if you go and dig and you hit a cable and you black out your entire suburb, you're in a lot of trouble. So he prevents that from happening, right?
Got it.
He has just been awarded the very first qualification by the Dial Before You Dig organisation. I guess it's a government body of some sort. And he's got the first qualification in Victoria, the official, like, you are the official cable locator in Victoria. Yeah, that one.
Yep.
I think that's very newsworthy. And it positions him as first to market and best in market.
Well, it's probably newsworthy in his industry.
Correct.
But if you think about it, he's going to need to go to niche media. So the first response is he's going to need to go to niche media for whoever that is relevant to, because that's not relevant to a broad general public.
That's okay. We're just trying to get him publicity. Well, it sort of is, because you or I might head out into our backyard this weekend and think, I'm going to dig a big hole, not realising that there could be cables under there. Unlikely,
yes.
But you might, need to bury something or someone.
Yes, but that's what I was going to say for step 2. So to make it relevant to the public, he needs to go and do his homework, and I'm sure the government, if they've got a program and a project and a campaign going, they will have done all this work, and he's probably got it as well. If he gets great statistics about how many people die each day from locating and not knowing where a cable is, or what sort of terrible injuries, then it becomes, and then if he's got someone who unfortunately may have ended up, as a quadriplegic or something.
Whether they're horror stories or funny stories, you're right. I mean, there's your angle. Find some stories.
There's your mainstream angle, and that's a great example of he's got probably, good government angles and good industry media angles, but he's also got great broad ones if he makes it fit the story. And it's all about what we're talking about: researching media, know what they want, if you want television news, all you have to do is look at mainstream television news, and a news item will go for 1.5 minutes, and there is a formula. They have the presenter giving the blurb up front, which is your intro more or less on a media release if you send one of those, and then they've got a talking head, and then they've got some sort of illustration of the talking head, and then there's a wrap-up. Yep.
Pretty simple.
Yep, it's a formula.
So this fellow's name is Ben. Ben's got to identify the media. I think there's a mass opportunity, there's a niche opportunity. He's got to find the angles. A lot of those angles are in the story. He's got to get his pitch right. And I imagine becomes a whole lot easier when you found the angle, because then your pitch is really just to share what is something that's newsworthy.
Absolutely.
And he's got to spell the names right.
Absolutely. And he's a Monty for his local paper. There you go.
Monty.
He's another Monty. We've got lots of Montys today.
Yeah, love it. Hey, Sammy, great tips on getting publicity coverage in relevant media. Love it. Anything we should, before we wrap up, any kind of key mistakes that young players like us could make?
Look, to be honest, Timbo, it's the opposite of what I've said. So, the mistakes are getting the name wrong, not knowing what the story is, not knowing an angle.
Approaching every media.
Yeah, that is a good one. One of the things media really hate is if you send them a media release, and it is just mass distribution, almost no one will pick it up. So,
and I get that too. That's another example of, I'll get an email from someone who wants to come in and talk about a wonderful new bookkeeping productivity tool on my show, because, they've just made the assumption, Tim has a small business audience. Well, yeah, I do, but I have a small business audience who listens for marketing insights, not bookkeeping insights.
Yeah, exactly.
So, I just hit delete.
Well, but even worse than that, journos have great noses for you spreading your media release around to 200 people in, wherever you are. They hate that. They want to think they're the only ones with a story.
Have journos still got a lot of red noses too? Because they love a little wine, don't they? It's unfair.
Well, I do.
Yeah. There we go. I just stereotyped every journalist in the world, and I will no longer get any coverage ever.
No, the day of the long lunch with journos is over. But, if you give them a good story... And, if you give me a bottle of French champagne, well, maybe.
I thought you were easy but not cheap. But no, you are. That's exactly what you are. You're easy but not cheap. I thought you were cheap but not easy.
You were on the money the first time, again.
Love it. Sammy, I know we covered, what we just covered is probably like a four-day workshop.
Yeah.
I get that, but I think that's a really good start there. Just to finish off, listeners who are now excited about the idea of going out and getting themselves some publicity, who could they add to what I call their virtual marketing team to help them here? A lot of them may not be able to afford an agency. Do they go and get a copywriter? Do they go and hire a journalist who could act as a copywriter? Like, who do they get?
Well, if you want to outsource it, what I would recommend, if you want to outsource the media material, like the writing stuff, I'd find a freelance journo. They'll help you with that to get the right angles, and then you can pitch it yourself. Or you could get a freelance publicist. There's lots of those around as well. So, you can do it. You can do it half yourself, you can do it all yourself, or you can get some publicists to do it for you. So
yeah, love it.
Take your pick.
Love it, Sammy. Hey, I love my listeners to hit my guests up on Twitter. You're a lady of the 2010s, whatever they're called, the tennies. What's your Twitter handle?
At Sam Elam, MM for Media Manoeuvres.
Oh, that's clever.
Yes.
Love it. Hey, thanks for sharing, Sammy.
Okie dokie, Timbo. Thanks a million. And good luck, everybody. I want to read about you, see you or hear you.
Hey, how helpful was Sam? Sam Elam. MediaManoeuvres.com.au is where you'll find her. And be sure to hit her up on Twitter. Now, I would love to share my top 3 learnings from that little fireside chat with Sam, and they're brought to you by the very good folk at Key Person of Influence. They've actually got a whole chapter on building your profile in their free hard copy book, which you can grab over at keypersonofinfluence.com/Timbo. Righto, learning number 1. Add a publicity strategy to your marketing arsenal. Start by approaching your local paper. That's a great one. Hey, they're going to want to hear from a local business like yours doing great things. Just be sure to find the angle. Learning number 2, lose any limiting beliefs you have around your business not being newsworthy. I believe every single business has an angle. You just got to find it. And Sam gave some great tips to help you find your angle. Learning number 3, adhere to Sam's 5-step process for getting publicity, and in particular, nail your pitch. And I'll put a link in the show notes to remind you of Oren Claff's interview, episode 267, and also grab the KPI book over at keypersonofinfluence.com/Timbo, because they have a whole chapter on pitching as well. Righto. So here's the thing, a little offer to you. If you're a business owner, you've got a compelling story, and you are using marketing in an interesting, highly effective way to grow your business, then I would love to hear from you. Pitch me. Keep it simple. Follow the process. Use my name, Timbo, and send me an email, tim@smallbusinessbigmarketing.com. Tomorrow, a noun. A mystical land where 99% of all human productivity, motivation, and achievement is stored. Oh, I do love that quote. So true. Tomorrowland. Yeah, no, I'll do it tomorrow. Yeah, I'll get it done. Yeah, no, I just got some stuff I've got to get off the plate today. Yeah, right. Oh, we're all guilty of that, eh? Hey, plenty of marketing gold coming your way. Next episode, I will have a chat with a fellow who's created a very naughty, well, a very in-your-face gymwear brand called FKN. Yeah. FKN. And he shares a great Snapchat marketing strategy that's working for him. I was going to have him on this episode, but I wanted to bring Sam's forward for a couple of reasons. It's good, wasn't it? Hey, did you enjoy it? Hey, be sure to grab a free copy of The Key Person of Influence Amazon bestseller over at keypersonofinfluence.com/Timbo and a free audiobook over at audibletrial.com/SBBM. Audio production for this show is done by my very good buddy Daryl Delirious Misson. Look out for a big 2016 Dazza. The music bed created by party boy rockstar Lockie Dolly. Hey, if you want to surround yourself with motivated business owners, hit stop now and head over to crankmymarketing.com. I'll forgive you. I'll see you inside the forum. And if you need a speaker for your upcoming event, I'm all yours. timreid.com.au. Until next week, I am Timbo Reid, and may your marketing be the absolute best marketing. Bye for now.